I've been saying for weeks on your YouTube channel, Under the Max, the Sports Room Talk Show, on this show, Championship Rings, that the Bills window is officially closed. But do you still believe that after Josh Allen did pull out those heroics and pretty much buried the Bengals and saved the Bills' own season?
I don't know why you keep getting rid of the banner.
I did not keep getting. Oh, it's because it's on a timer now. Hold on, let me adjust that.
Okay, but to answer the question, I'm eating my own damn words. Thanks, Josh Allen. He completely buried the Cincinnati Bengals, and I actually tweeted at you today. I don't know if you saw this or
I
not.
did see this.
Okay. Actually, I am going to pull up the tweet and I'm going to read it word for word. I will even share my screen, so give me a second. But in the meantime, while I'm doing that, yeah, actually, I'm not going to be able to do it because I'm in a separate tab, so I'll just pull it up on my phone. But,
give me a second here.
Yeah, do what you need to do. But,
I got it. Let me see if I can pull up the screen share here.
All right, go ahead.
Share screen. Sorry, guys, we're going for technical difficulties here. Let's do this Chrome tab. So you should be able to now see my screen. Josh tweeted that if Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to overcome their playoff demons, this has to be the season to do it. There's most likely going to be no Mahomes, Burrow, or Lamar. So the path is clear for Josh and the Bills. But can they take advantage of it? Let me make this clear. I want Josh Allen and the Bills to prove me wrong. I know I've said that Buffalo's window is closed, but I want them to prove me wrong.
Which I do, because they are our Lake Erie brothers. It's always fun when the Browns play the Bills. But the reason I was saying their window was closed is because of something you and I have talked about a lot on this show, is the fact that they are so Josh Allen dependent. He has to put on his Superman cape so often. That's the biggest reason why they won that game against the Bengals.
That and the fact that Joe Burrow threw two of the rarest tipped interceptions back to back you'll ever see, or the Bengals were going to win that game.
Yes. On the one, I have no idea why he threw that pass. Christian Benford was right there. And that was probably the easiest pick six you will ever see.
Yes.
But like I said in my tweet, there is most likely going to be no Mahomes, no Lamar, and no Joe Burrow. So this is the easiest path Josh Allen has had to get to the Super Bowl. But if he can't take advantage of it, I don't know when he can. Honestly,
by the way, there's also a world where there's no Josh Allen either.
That part is true. Could you imagine the playoffs on the AFC side if there's no Josh Allen, no Mahomes, no Joe Burrow, no Lamar?
That's my point. The top 4 teams in the AFC, we thought going into the year, all 4 of them would not make the playoffs.
Dude, I'm telling you, there is some correlation between the football world and the recent release of Stranger Things Season 5, because the football universe is completely upside down. But to get back to this question, a lot of it is going to depend on what happens this Sunday in Foxborough, Massachusetts, in Gillette Stadium. Because the New England Patriots went into your house and beat you on Sunday Night Football. Already, if the Bills can go in there and avenge that loss, okay. But if the Patriots are able to really reestablish themselves as the dominant team in the AFC East, maybe I'm going to keep my take.
What do you think of Buffalo being favored in that game?
It's not surprising because New England hasn't really beaten anybody credible outside of Buffalo.
But here's the thing. They went to Tampa and they beat Tampa, but now it's like, how good is Tampa? They lost to the freaking Saints.
Exactly. That's my point. When you got wins against the Giants and the Browns, and for God's sakes, the Patriots, I think, lost to the Raiders.
But who has Buffalo beat besides Kansas City?
That part is true, yes.
So I'm surprised. I thought New England should have been favored in this game by at least 3.
I think.
Now, with that being said, I think the Bills are going to win the game. I do. However, New England is coming off a bye, and that cannot be overlooked. And Buffalo just played a up and down field against the Bengals, which was no surprise, albeit it was in the snow. If Buffalo's going to win, they have to control the time of possession. They have to run the ball with James Cook, and they have to keep Drake May and the Patriots offense on the sideline.
And that's where I think New England has the advantage, because they can run the ball, not just with Ramondre Stevenson, they can also run the ball with Travion Henderson. So,
agree.
Whereas,
I'll answer the question like this.
Go ahead.
I don't think Buffalo's window is closed, but if they don't win it this year, it is slammed shut, and I will never pick the Bills unless they make a major move to change my mind to win the Super Bowl again. Because even if they limp into this year's playoffs, they should be favored in the AFC, I would think, to get to the Super Bowl, even if they lose this game to New England.
Which I think the Patriots are going to win this game.
It's certainly going to be close. I could see it. Let's get into some more previews now. Packers 9-3-1 at the Broncos 11-2. The question on the screen, is this a Super Bowl 60 preview? I am going to go ahead and say no. I do not think either of these two teams are likely to make the Super Bowl. I don't think either of these two teams should be favored in either of their conferences. I think both of them have a flaw. For Green Bay and Denver, you cannot trust their quarterback right now when the going gets tough. And when they're going up against good defenses, they have mostly struggled. And Denver, outside of Dallas and Cincinnati, haven't been able to blow out anybody.
Yeah, it feels like they're in close games all the time, which could help them come playoff time. I'm not going to lie, because you know how it is when it gets to the postseason. Those games are usually right down to the wire and stuff like that.
And it's going to help Denver that they're going to be at home.
Yes. And again, as I said earlier, I think it was more important for Green Bay to win that first game against Chicago, knowing that they had this game on deck in Denver. But to answer the question directly, it very well could be. I think Green Bay should be one of the top teams to get to the Super Bowl. I would only put the Rams ahead of them right now. I think the Packers are on the same tier as the Seahawks, though I do like Seattle a little bit more because of their defense, but I would favor Jordan Love over Sam Darnold. So that's how close it is for me between the Seahawks and the Packers. I honestly don't know who I would favor if they were playing each other, say, next week. But
I think it depends on where the game's at.
Okay. But in terms of this game, I would give the edge to the Packers because as much as I love Bo Nix, and I have been a Bo Lever all season, I trust Jordan Love more than I trust Bo Nix.
Even in Mile High against that defense.
Yes. As I do love what Denver is doing defensively. You got Patrick Surtain, you got Nick Bonito, Franklin.
Zach Allen right next to Bonito up front has been huge for them.
Yes. Don't they have Barron opposite Pat Surtain? Yes. That's going to be a great matchup seeing Christian Watson. I would presume he's going to be matched up with Pat Surtain. That's going to be must-see TV. I will definitely want to tune in for that. But I just feel like Green Bay, we've seen it. You can run the ball against Denver's defense. We've seen teams be able to do it. And I think Josh Jacobs could take advantage of that. I don't know if Denver's going to commit enough to the run to slow down Green Bay's pass rush.
Yeah, I just have a hard time, I think, going up against Denver at this point in Denver, and I got to see it to believe it with Jordan Love. He's been good the last 2 weeks. He gets hot around this time of year, but every time we start to believe him doing,
Toyota-thon. That's what makes him get hot. Toyota-thon.
yes, but every time we start believing in these Packers, they lay an egg, and so I don't know. I think both these teams are good teams. They're probably a playoff win or two teams, but I don't see either of them as perennial Super Bowl contenders.
You know what's interesting? And we'll get to the Lions and Rams here in a second. I don't feel like there's, and we just talked about this on the show last week, I don't feel like there's a clear-cut team where you can point to them and go, yeah, they're the Super Bowl favorites.
And as I said last week, I think the closest team would be New England, but this Buffalo game could change my mind.
I would actually say the LA Rams are the closest.
See, I think the Rams have a flaw. It's their secondary. I think you can beat the Rams over the top if you have a good passing game.
Well, let's get to the Rams game right now because they are going to be hosting the Detroit Lions.
Like I'm telling you right now, I'm taking the Lions plus 5.5. I think they're going to flat out upset the Rams.
This is an interesting spot for the Rams because they host the Lions in what I think is going to be a very physical game and close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout one way or the other.
I agree. It feels like it's 27-24, 30-27.
Yeah, and then they have a short week where they have to go up to Seattle to play the Seahawks in a game that will decide who wins the NFC West and potentially who gets the number one seed.
By the way, if the Niners went out, they could get the number one seed. So this game may not decide the NFC West.
Yes, but I don't, as much as the 49ers have impressed me, I would pick the Bears to beat them even in San Francisco.
That's interesting because I think I would take San Francisco.
Well, don't worry. We'll get more into that game when it comes around. But circling back to this game, they've had some fantastic matchups the last couple times they've played each other. I do feel like it's a bit of a budding rivalry, especially since Goff and Stafford were traded for each other. Matt Stafford, of course, went on to win a Super Bowl with the Rams in LA at SoFi. Jared Goff has gotten the Lions close, but he has not been able to break through since the one time he went to the Super Bowl with the LA Rams. I think this is going to be Goff's first game in LA since he got traded to the Lions.
I believe you're right because they have played, but it was in Detroit when they played.
Yes. Once, I think twice they played in the regular season in Detroit.
Now, had the Lions played the Chargers in LA? I don't think so. I think this is going to be Goff's first game in SoFi Stadium.
It very well could be. And it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out because McVay knows Jared Goff extremely well. And I wonder if Jared Goff is going to give the Lions defense any insight on how Sean McVay plays offensively.
Well, it's a completely different defense now, obviously, for the Rams with Chris Shula than he was there. So that is something as well. I think the Lions match up really well with the Rams. The fact that this thing's going to be put in a dome. Dan Campbell and the Lions are desperate. Their backs against the wall. I think they're going to come ready to play. What's interesting, I thought about this the other day, Josh, watching the Rams just swing it and beat the hell out of the Arizona Cardinals. Um, if this trade never happened, if the golf for Stafford trade never happened, and the Lions and Dan Campbell elected to keep Matthew Stafford, I'm wondering if the Lions would have had a Super Bowl already.
God, that's such a hard question to
Well,
answer.
you watch the Lions and then you watch the Rams, and you're going, did they make a mistake moving on from Stafford? Now, I was never a Matthew Stafford believer. I was always a Jared Goff guy. I liked Jared Goff when he came out of Cal. I never thought Matthew Stafford was that insanely talented. I always thought with that Lions roster, people always said, oh, the Lions were the Lions. They had some pretty good teams when Stafford was there, and they never won a playoff game. But this Stafford and McVay connection is different. His connection with Puka and Devontae Adams is different. The Rams look like a legitimate, different Super Bowl-esque team. The Lions' defense is not at the point where it should be, but there's just something about the Lions that makes you go, they match up well with the Rams.
It's going to be interesting to see what the fan split is like for this game.
Oh, I think it's going to be very similar to what you saw last night.
You think it's going to be dominant Lions?
I do.
Interesting. Because the Rams, I feel like, have a more established fan base in LA than the Chargers.
But it's not much.
That part is true. Do you think if this game were played in St. Louis, I would favor the Rams more? Because if you remember, when they were good, that dome was rocking, and it was hard to win games in St. Louis.
Yes, but I also think the Lions are accustomed to noise.
That part is true because they play in Ford Field. So you're not wrong in that regard. But in terms of this game, I just don't know if the Lions' offensive line is going to be able to handle the pass rush that the Rams can throw at you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think it's going to come down to whoever gets the ball last.
And it's good. The matchup I'm watching, Puka Nacua against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Two of the best receivers in the NFL. I would say they're two of the top 10, if not top 5 wide receivers.
I would say they're the best duo in the NFL. And I would also add, I think Jameson Williams needs to equal whatever production Devontae Adams is going to give the Rams, so the Lions have a shot.
Yeah.
And the Lions not having either Brock Wright or Sam Laporta, that could be the difference.
How much of a factor do you think the running game is going to be played in this game?
I think it will be a factor. I don't think it is the factor. Unless Jahmyr Gibbs just goes crazy.
That's why I think the Rams need to establish the running game more so than the Lions.
I don't know, man. These two teams are so even. They're built the same.
I would love it if they matched up again in the playoffs. And it's honestly, it's a possibility we could see them face.
And the possibility the Lions don't even make the playoffs altogether, especially if they lose this game, which I think this game means more to the Lions.
Oh, 100%. But in the same breath, again, the Rams had to play at Seattle on a short week after this game.
All right. We've talked about all these big games. Let's get to our Week 15 NFL top games. I don't think we're going to need a lot of explanation for these. So, number 5 for me is the rematch from Thanksgiving night in Cincinnati between the Ravens and Bengals. Because, Josh, your favorite rivalry in the NFL, Steelers-Ravens, lived up to the hype this past week. The Ravens lost. Their season is now clearly on the line. And believe it or not, if Mike Tomlin finds a way to go 8-9 and they have an under 500 season, and the Bengals win out, the Bengals can still win the division. So they are not absolutely dead yet. I think this will be another 38-35 classic ball game, back and forth. I'm very much looking forward to one of these games in the 1 o'clock window on Sunday. Next up, we have Packers Broncos, which we already talked about. Patriots Bills at number 3, which we already talked about. Number 2, I have Chargers Chiefs, which we talked about a little bit, right? The Chargers all banged up, going up against the Chiefs. It is criminal to me that these games that we're talking about, Ravens, Bengals, Patriots, Bills, Chargers, Chiefs, not one of them got flexed to Sunday night or Monday Night Football. All 3 of them are in the 1 o'clock window on CBS. It may be the most stacked 1 o'clock window on a network in the history of the NFL. And at number 1 is the game we just got done talking about, Lions Rams. So pretty much we talked about most of these games already.
So my honorary mention would be Browns Bears, mostly because I have a cousin who lives out in Chicago, and I'm hoping to FaceTime with them during this game because they are big time Bears fans. So due to family connection, I have to mention Browns Bears. At number 5, I have Ravens Bengals, rematch of Thanksgiving. If the Ravens lose this game, I feel like you can pretty much stick a fork in them. This is a must win for the Baltimore Ravens. First of all, I think that was the wrong call on that Isaiah Likely touchdown. But that point aside, the Ravens had other opportunities to win that game. Lamar just does not look right. And for some reason, again, they have forgotten that they have Derrick Henry. So for me, this is a must win for Baltimore. Yes, it's a must win for Cincinnati. I get your point. But for me, it's more important for Baltimore
I've
because
already stuck a fork in Baltimore. I think their schedule is too hard. I don't think that they can win out.
fair enough. Plus, they still have that Week 18 rematch in Pittsburgh
Yes, they
against
do.
this
And
against
they
this.
have Green Bay and they have New England. Like, there's a chance they only win one more game the rest of the year. And you
Yes,
laughed at me when I said the Ravens were going to win 10 games. They may only win 7.
yeah, I know. At number 4, I've got Chargers Chiefs. Again, we already talked about it. The Chargers are banged up, but I think they can take advantage of the Chiefs. Yes, they're playing on a short week after playing a very sloppy game against Philadelphia, but we saw the Chiefs did not match up well with the Texans defense. I think the Chargers, no, they're not quite at the level of the Texans defense, but I think the Chargers defense can almost replicate that to a certain degree. So I would actually pick the Chargers to win that game in Arrowhead, and they will sweep the Kansas City Chiefs. At number 3, I've got Bills Patriots. Again, we already talked about it. No more need for explanation. Number 2, I've got Detroit at the LA Rams. And at number 1, Green Bay, Denver.
So we have the same 5 games basically in a different order. The reason why I have Kansas City and the Chargers ahead of Green Bay, Denver, it's just because of the Chiefs and what it would mean for the dynasty, basically.
No, I understand that, but the fact that we could see Packers Chiefs, or I'm sorry, Packers Broncos again pushes it up the list a little bit. And again, I can't say this enough. The fact that this is the game in between the two Bears matchups adds a lot of significance to this game for the Packers.